5 things all big guys should know before buying an electric bike. Hey everyone, I'm Dustin. I have nearly 20 years experience in the bike and e-bike industry. And today I'm gonna tell you 5 things all big guys should know before buying an e-bike. Now, before I get into it, hit that subscribe button below. Stay in touch with us here at 630. Be the first to know about all the new content we're putting out, giveaways we do, and of course, new product releases. All right, right here, I've got 3 e-bikes that are all great for big guys. If you wanna see these, click in the description below. They'll be linked right there. All right, so I myself would classify myself as a big guy. I'm 230 pounds. I'm only 5'10", but I've ridden a lot of e-bikes and I understand what's good, what's bad for big guys. If you're looking for an electric bike, things to look out for and what you should know. All right, so let's get into it. Now, number one thing you should know is you don't necessarily need the largest motor. Now, I hesitated on that and said largest motor. In California, 750 watt is the largest street legal motor size you can have on an e-bike. In a few select other states, you can go up to 1,000 watts. Now, we're talking about if you want to ride it on the streets and have it be classified as a bicycle. It's possible to get much larger motors that are used for off-road, private property. Even a lot of the government trails now are regulated in terms of how large the motor size can be. Now, I say this because I've ridden 250 watt e-bikes, I've ridden 1,000 watt 750, and it really depends on the type of riding you're gonna do if you're a bigger, heavier guy. If you're gonna primarily do flat ground, or exclusively flat ground, you could opt for a 250 watt motor and it's gonna give you more than enough assistance on your rides. I've had handfuls of men, 200, 250 pounds and over, even 300 pounds and over, and we actually have videos on our YouTube channel of it. They get on a 250 watt e-bike for the first time and they are surprised by how much torque and pull they have. Now, different story if you're taking on a lot of hills. If you're a big guy taking on hills, you're definitely not gonna wanna opt for anything less than 500 watts. Now, I've taken on a lot of hills as well. On a 500 watt e-bike, for me at 230 pounds, I can do throttle only and get up hills, albeit slower than I would like to travel at, usually about 7 to 8 miles an hour. Now, if I put it into level assist 5 and go up a hill on a 500 watt, I can get up no problem. I'm not breathing heavy, I'm not sweating at all. Now, if you move to a 750 watt, I can do that throttle and I cruise up the hill without any pedaling at all, and it's quite easy. So, depends on the type of hills you have, terrain you're riding, and also what your expectations are. If you want to put in effort going up hills, opt for the 500 watt. Now, you can also determine how much effort you want to put forth by lowering the assistance level. If you want to ensure that you have the power necessary at all times, opt for a 750 watt. So, just keep in mind, it's important. It's not only about your weight, but the terrain really plays into the type of motor size you'll need as a bigger guy. Now, if you're a bigger guy that's over 300 pounds and you really wanna make sure you can get up hills, don't go below 750 watts if you've got hills to contest with on your rides. That'll ensure that it gives you the right power. Now, segueing into the second thing you should know if you're a bigger guy opting for an e-bike is your battery is going to drain quicker being a bigger guy. The more weight that you put onto an electric bike, whether it's by the rider or the cargo, it's going to make the motor have to work harder, which is in turn going to require more power from the battery, which ultimately means the battery will drain faster than if you had a rider who's lighter. So as an example, when I ride with friends and I have, maybe my wife who's 140 pounds and I'm 230 pounds, her battery will drain quicker if we're both using the assistance at the same equal resistance and riding the same terrain. It's just inevitable. My e-bike's gonna have to be working harder than her e-bike. So with that said, now again, if you're on flat ground and you plan to still use the assistance level, batteries that are 10.4 amp hours will be more than enough. Now, if you plan on taking on a lot of hills and you want to use a lot of assistance and you're a heavier guy, then you're going to want to look at batteries no smaller than 14 amp hours and up. You can even do 21 amp hours. Now, with that said, it's going to cost more money. So bigger batteries are the #1 thing that's going to drive the cost of an e-bike up. Not even so much the motor as it is the battery, which drives the price up. So that's why it's really important to think about where you're riding and what you want to get out of your e-bike so you don't overspend or actually underspend. You match yourself up to the perfect electric bike that is right for your riding and your body type. Now, if you combine those two things, which is a heavier rider and big hills, it's gonna drain the battery even quicker. So think about how far you plan on riding, the type of terrain, and then also take your weight into consideration when selecting. Now, again, if you're somebody who's 220 pounds or less, or 230 or less like me, 10.4 amp hours generally is pretty good. But if you want to get a little more range, go to 14 amp hours. And if you want a lot of range, look at 14 amp hours and up, especially if you have plans to do long distance rides and you like using the highest level of assistance. So all things to consider. Now, the third thing to think about as a bigger guy is not as much about weight, but is also about height, is riding position. So I've got a couple e-bikes here that all have different riding positions. There's a lot of e-bikes like the Zip and Fold right here, which have 20-inch tires. It's important that you can find something comfortable for you, right? You don't want to be crunched up. You don't want your body to be uncomfortable while you're out riding. This one, the Relax Body, has a very stretched out frame, which a lot of bigger guys like because it gives them a lot of space here, a lot of comfort, and doesn't really, feel uncomfortable while you're riding. So not all e-bikes are created equal. Again, and if you're gonna be on this e-bike for many, many miles, you clearly wanna be comfortable so you can enjoy your ride. So while there's a lot of 20-inch models specifically that have bigger motors, and a lot of people like opting for it, if you're a guy who's over 6 feet tall, just make sure you can adjust it to accommodate you. Ours you can. The Relax Body is really good for taller guys as well. The Simple Step Through is good for men up to about 6'3", 6'4". If you're north of that, you want to opt for probably something like the Relax Body. All right, #4 thing you want to know as a bigger guy riding e-bike is everything's going to wear down quicker than someone that's lighter. Two things I'm specifically thinking of are the tire treads and the disc brake pads. So on e-bikes, people are riding faster, they're riding longer, and they're utilizing their brakes more than they typically probably did on regular bikes. Now, not all riders, but I'm saying novice riders that have gone into e-biking are finding that brake pads and tires are wearing down quicker than they were used to on the regular bikes that they've owned. Well, the more miles you put on it, the more it's going to wear down. Also, on a bike or an e-bike, the heavier the rider, the more downward pressure you have on those tires, thus disintegrating the tread faster. The other thing too is if you're stopping the bike with a rider that's 300 pounds versus a rider that's 150, it's requiring way more power, clamping, friction on these brakes than it would on a 150-pound rider, thus meaning the brake pads are going to wear down quicker. So if you are a heavier rider, bigger rider, just expect that you may wear your treads down faster than someone else, and also your brake pads may need to be replaced more frequently. Now, all of this is also dependent on how frequently and how many miles you ride on any given ride. If you're riding very infrequently, then of course your brakes, your tires are going to last longer. But if you're not, then They may last a long time, but if you have a wife, partner, friend, whoever you ride with, and they're lighter than you are, don't gauge your bike maintenance based on their bike maintenance. Check yours a little more frequently if you're a heavier guy, just because you may wear those brake pads down quicker and you may wear those treads down quicker as well. And don't be surprised if you're logging a lot of miles on your e-bike if the treads on your tire wear down. Now, we use good tires on our e-bikes. However, with that said, there's definitely higher end tires you can put on your e-bike for any brand out there, to be honest with you. It's just like car tires. We try to fit the tire on the e-bike that fits the price point of the bike. And so by, putting a higher end tire, it drives the cost up. So it's possible when you get to the point of having to replace a tire, which it's going to be inevitable with an e-bike at some point in time. Like I said, because people are logging more miles, it's no different than a car, right? This is a motorized piece of transportation now. Car tires need to be replaced as well. The more miles you log, the more the tread goes down. And because of how fast you're traveling on e-bikes, it's important to have a tread, especially if you ride somewhere where it rains a lot and there's water and residue left on the street. So when the time comes for you to replace your tires, you can always look at a higher end, more expensive option that didn't come on the bike originally. If you can find the correct tire size, you can fit it onto any bike or e-bike. It doesn't have to be from the manufacturer. So that might be something as a bigger guy you want to consider when you get to that point. Maybe opt for a more expensive, better quality so the tread will last you longer. All right, my fifth and final thing that big guys should think about when buying an electric bike is having gears on the e-bike. Now, gears on an e-bike are just like gears on a regular bicycle. They have nothing to do with the electrical components, but they work together. So you talk about pedal assist levels on an e-bike. Those are related to the assistance you get from the motor. The gears are just like the gears on a regular bike. Now, there's a certain combination of how you may want to, of what gear you want to be in correlation with your assistance level. So if you're in a low level of assistance, you can be in a lower gear of the bicycle. If you're in the higher level of assistance, you want to be in a higher gear of the bicycle, and that's to enable you to match your pedal cadence with the power you're getting from the motor. If you are in too low of a gear on the bike with a very high assistance level, you're gonna be spinning your wheels and your legs aren't really doing much because the motor's gonna be overpowering anything you are doing with your legs. The reason I like or think a lot of big guys should consider having gears on their e-bike, because they all don't. They definitely do not. A lot of them are just single speeds, and they try to find the perfect combination of that one gear in relation to their one gear in relation to the assistance levels that they offer. Now, if you're a bigger guy, and I've witnessed it firsthand, there's two things that are going to be more difficult for a lot of riders. One is starting out the ride from ground zero, right? So if you're starting out, getting moving, and if you're a rider close to 300 pounds or over, that initial surge may be difficult for someone who's a little bit lighter. So with that said, it's great to have that first gear option to start your ride out. Now, you can always use the assistance to help you get started as well, or the throttle, but being able to also shift down into that first gear makes it very easy to pedal. And again, I've witnessed this firsthand where I've had riders who are heavier try to start out, let's say in 7th gear, which on all these e-bikes is the highest gear. That's where you're gonna have the most resistance on the pedals, and it's difficult to get the pedals moving when you start in 7. I shift it down to first, it becomes much easier for them. The second point is if you're a bigger guy taking on hills on your e-bike, it's going to be more challenging to get up hills in any way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter if you even have a 750 watt, it's gonna be more challenging for you to get up hills than riders that are lighter, right? So having those gears, like the first gear, is going to make those hills much easier, because as it gets steeper, more difficult to pedal, you can shift the bike down into first gear, make it easier for yourself to pedal, thus making it easier for you to get up the hill. Now, especially if you are gonna opt for a 500 watt where you may rely on the pedal assist a lot to get up hills, you'll be really thankful that you have those seven gears, especially the first gear. And then with that said, I think gears are a great thing in general, because as you're out cruising on a ride on flat ground, it's nice to be able to shift up to 7, to shift down, and just play around with the resistance at any point in the ride, because then you can really dictate how much or how little exercise you're getting. You can give your legs a break if you want to ease off the resistance, go down into like a first, second, third, or fourth gear. Or when you really want to start moving fast and pedaling hard, go up to 7th gear, and that's when you can hit the top speeds in the pedal assist levels. All right, so those are my 5 things all big guys should know before buying an e-bike. If you have any other thoughts or ideas, comment below. Or you can also reach out to us, the team at sixthreezero.com, or call us 310-982-2877. Now don't forget, all 3 of these e-bikes are linked in the description below. Check those out, and we offer a 30-day test ride your e-bike policy. If you don't love it in the first 30 days, send it back, no questions asked, no money out of your pocket. In addition to that, we're gonna warranty everything for 1 year. Anything goes wrong in the first year, we'll take care of everything, parts and labor. And lastly, we have a Facebook group called 630 Pedalers. There's thousands of members in there. Join before you purchase so you can talk to existing riders before you make your choice to ensure that you choose the right e-bike that's best for you. Then when you have yours, download our app, track your rides on there, and compete on the leaderboard. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for sticking around, and don't forget, it's your journey, your experience. Enjoy the ride.